It's a rainy day in Oslo, and I'm not going to say much. I'm going to let our tour guide do most of the talking.
You can see very nice apartments and also very nice houses are here. I'm going to say the prices in kroners now. I'm not sure how you translate it into American dollars, but we'll find out later on. Well, a 4-room apartment here, 100 square meters, would cost you about 5 million kroners at least if you want to buy one, even though it's quite expensive. Most Norwegians, they live in their own apartments and also in their own houses because we get a lot of tax reliefs when we have our own apartments, and also to pay rent is quite expensive. You pay a lot of rent and the interest rate is very low and has been low for a very long time. So most Norwegians buy their own apartments and also their own houses. We are about 650,000 people today in Oslo. Oslo is growing in a very steady pace. I just read in the newspaper that we think that in 15-20 years Oslo will become a million city, so a million people will live here in about 15-20 years. That is why we're building so many new apartments, because we are also really needing new apartments here in Oslo. And only 15 years ago there were 500,000 people living in Oslo. So a lot of people are moving into the city of Oslo from all over Norway, but also a lot of people are coming from abroad. As I told you, many Swedish workers are also here in Oslo. With 650,000 inhabitants, Oslo is today the biggest city in Norway. We're not so many Norwegians, we're only 5 million. In this park there are more than 200 sculptures made, the models, by one man and one man alone, Gustav Vigeland. He lived from 1869 until 1944, more or less at the same time as also Edvard Munch. And he did something very similar as Munch. He gave all his works, he was not a rich man, so he gave all his works in 1919 to the city of Oslo. And then the city gave him this park and also a studio that he can live in and work and live in. And you can even visit the studio today. It's a museum. The Gustav Vigeland Museum is on the other side of the park, and you can see some more of the sculptures that he made. He was a very productive artist. And you can also see how the park developed throughout time, because as you can imagine, it took quite a while to complete the park. They started out in the 1920s. It was not completed before Gustav Vigeland died, 43. In the 50s it was completed, but it was completed just the way he wanted it to be. So we're visiting his life work at the moment. Now right behind me here now, you can see the monolith. It's the main piece in this park, and it is called a monolith because it consists of only one piece of stone. There are 3 ships, original ships, all from the 9th century. Osebergskipet right behind me, Suneskipet, and also Gokstadskipet on the left-hand side. Now the Viking era lasted from about 800 to 1050, and there were Vikings all over Northern Europe. The Danish Vikings went southwards, the Swedish Vikings went eastwards, and the Norwegian Vikings went eastwards, all the way to Iceland, Greenland, even Newfoundland, around the year 1000 with Leif Erikson. Meaning that the Norwegian Vikings were actually in North America many hundred years before Christopher Columbus, but the big difference was that they didn't settle there, so we didn't know for a long time. The Vikings believed in a life after their death, and this is why they would bury their kings and queens in their ships when they died. And that is exactly what happened with the 3 ships inside of this museum. And the reason why they were so well preserved is that the earth they were buried in consisted of a great amount of blue clay. So this kind of protected the oak, the tree. It did not rot, oxygen couldn't get to the oak, and the ship here right behind me, Osebergskipet, consists of 90% of the original oak. So that's quite extraordinary.
And as we leave Oslo on the way to Copenhagen, I get to say it one more time. The sea was angry, my friend.